All right, we have Lander Women's Basketball 2020-2021 Preview Day. We've got head coach Kevin Pedersen and sophomore guard Sierra Revel. Coach, if you could just make an opening statement about this upcoming season, then we'll take some questions.
Well, we're excited about the season. I think everyone at this point is just excited to get back to some sense of normalcy. And obviously for us, that starts with playing games. We've had to delay our season a little bit due to current situations. So we're just in a situation where we're back to practicing 2 hours at a time yesterday. So we're kind of moving forward, but I know right now the players are anxious to get back, to get on the court. You know, last season was such an abrupt ending. You're ready to play an NCAA tournament, and then all of a sudden the season ends. So now you fast forward, you lose Jessica Harris, you lose Tabitha Daly, two phenomenal, not just great players, just great leaders, great locker room presences. And so now we've got a big challenge ahead of us. We've got 6 of our top 8 back, but those were arguably our numbers 1 and 2 we lost. So we're at that point, we're trying to see who's going to step up for us, who's going to replace not only their rebounds and points and assists, but also their leadership. So it's going to be an interesting season. There are a lot of question marks in front of us, a lot of challenges in front of us. I know you look at North Georgia, they've got what we had last year. They've got 2 phenomenal seniors who are going to be able to lead a very talented team. And so I think for us, our work is cut out for us. We've got to take some young kids. We've got to learn how to play the way we want to play. We've got to learn how to get the standard to the standard that Jess and Tab set. And that doesn't happen overnight. So we're looking forward to playing a couple games, learn a little bit more about this team and seeing where the season takes us.
If you talked to any, or has the team felt any of the pressure of being the number 1 seed last year? It was a different team, like you said, but having that sort of that target on your back of everybody's going to be looking in to try to get a piece of you guys this year as opposed to last year where you were chasing North Georgia.
It's funny, we talked about that the other day, and I'm not sure they understand that. And it's one of those things, I don't know if it's necessarily fair. We know as coaches and administrators, we know it's there. We know that's what people are thinking. But this is a completely different team for us. Like I said, when you take Jessica Harris and Tabitha Daly off the team, it changes the complexity of the team. And I was trying to explain it to them in practice the other day. I said, guys, trust me, people are coming. They see a team that won the regular season and tournament championship last year. We know we're not quite the same team. We're trying to find our identity. We're trying to get that level, but you can't just lose 2 players like that and come back in the fall and be the same team you were. So in our minds, like, I'm trying to give this team a chance to find their own identity. You know, we might be a middle of the pack beach ball team. We don't know where this team is going to be. So we're trying very hard not to look at last year's standards and trying to create and find out what will the standard be for this team and see, hey, are we competing for a championship or are we rebuilding? Where do we fall in the grand scheme of things? And really, until we see what these kids do when the lights come on, until we see how strong the rest of the Peach Belt is, it's, you know, really all you can do is just try to get better one day at a time.
Sierra, for you guys as players, this is obviously a much different preseason than what you dealt with last year. How do you think the team has handled how odd this preseason has been and trying to get ready for a season that's going to feel a lot different?
It's definitely been very different than the year before. But I think the biggest thing is that we're just taking it one day at a time and making sure we're coming out and putting our best foot forward and putting ourselves in positions that we can grow and get better. And even if we make mistakes or even if we have setbacks like we've had the past few weeks, that we come out the next day and we just get as far as we can that day and then keep getting further and building on, like Coach was saying, finding that standard that we want to achieve and finding the team that we want to become.
Coach, in years past, this team has kind of found its way in November, December, and January and February. You've hit your stride and gone on some runs. With basically no non-conference schedule, that becomes a lot harder to do. How do you kind of try to accelerate the learning process, knowing you're not going to have 10 non-conference games to work out the kinks?
Yeah, it concerns me because, you know, we're one of those teams, we love to come out and play a strong schedule. And I think we've lost more games in November and December in the last 10 years than we've lost in January and February. And I don't think it's even close, to be honest with you. So it's because, you know, the teams like Carson Newman who have done a good job of being better than us in November the last several years, you lose those games. Last year we go to Lee University, who's the top 5 team in the country, and we lose that game. But in those losses, you're playing great players, you're coaching against great coaches, and they're showing you the cracks you need to work on. And so now it does concern me because this year we're looking at 2 non-conference games against 2 very good teams. Limestone, who was an NCAA tournament team last year, Belmont Abbey, who was arguably either 1 or 2 in the region this year because they return everybody. So we're going to play 2 tough opponents non-conference. So we're really trying to cram about 8 games worth of non-conference play into 2 games, and we're hoping we learn a lot in those 2 games because it's a challenge. So we'll see. We're going to try and pick up a couple more games if we can. Now that our team's getting back to where we can resume practice. We're hoping we can add a third or fourth game in there as well.
Sierra, your class of sophomores is the biggest class on the roster right now, 5 of you. For you guys, and I guess for you specifically, what do you feel like you've learned from year 1 coming as a freshman now into year 2 going into your second season with the program?
I think there's a lot that you learn just from like coming in with the mindset from your freshman year to your sophomore year. You know what to expect, and even though things are different this year, we know what we can achieve and what we have to do to achieve that. So it's for us, it's making sure our mindset is locked in, and our mentality is that we know what we want to achieve and what we have to do to get that. And so just keep building on that and coming in with that mindset, that mentality.
And last question, Cheryl, I'll start with you and then go to Coach. 286 days from the time you played your last game until you're scheduled to play your first game this year. Imagine for both of you, it's probably the longest you've ever gone without a basketball game of consequence. Just what do you feel like has been your biggest takeaway from all of this time where you haven't been able to go out and play the game that you love to play?
I think the biggest takeaway is the things that we take for granted. A lot of times, like we take for granted the ability to play, the ability to come into a gym and compete, like you said. And so I think just making sure that we are thankful and we not take for granted, but we take pride in the things that we're able to do and when we're able to come out every day and achieve. Because if this period has shown anything, it's that who knows what we're going to be doing tomorrow. So it's just making sure that we come out daily and take advantage of the opportunities presented to us.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's really been a time to kind of reflect, and it's, we feel like we've got a system in place. I think this is my 20th season as a head coach, and so at this point, you kind of have a rhythm of you know what you want to accomplish in October, November, December, and then, like you said, we try and start to where we're hopefully peaking in January and February, and now you throw all that out the window. And so what we've really been doing, our message to players, is we hope we're playing for a championship, whether that's this year, next year, or somewhere in the future. That's what we're working for. And for me, I've had to take a step back. Normally, at this point, it's just push, push, push. And I've tried to step back and just listen, because I was talking to a couple other coaches, and to me, the most important thing right now is our players. Well, how do they feel? What are they looking for? We had that COVID shutdown where it really affected a lot of us. And so my thing, I'm talking to my players all the time, hey, how do you feel? Because this affects everyone differently. How are you feeling emotionally, physically? Where are we right now? And that's kind of why you see our late start to the season. When I talk to our captains, our message was, hey, let's take this slowly. Let's see how we're feeling. And that's just kind of where I've been as a head coach, keep reminding myself, this is a different season. You can't just be in push, compete mode all the time. You really, for me, it's all about the players. We'll get whatever out of the season they're going to allow us to get out. But to me, the most important thing is just making sure our players are comfortable, making sure we're providing them something that is what they're looking for in a crazy season like this. So we'll just kind of see where it takes us, but hopefully these kids get a chance to get as close to regular season as we can. But at the end of the day, for us, it's just trying to make sure our players are comfortable and see where that takes us at the end of the day.